I believe in smaller government. I believe we need to find out a way to provide, to make sure that health care is available to everybody. But I'm not a big believer in giving things away to people. People don't stop. When you run a small business, any business, you run into things, management incentives. And it's not the things that initially strike people. People react long-term to things. They look at things, they evaluate the environment, and they make decisions. In the state, and I'll get the state one, but I believe it's the state of Maine, decided, one of the East Coast, northeastern states, decided that they were having a budget shortfall. This was about 4 years ago. And they decided the way to do this was they were going to introduce a tax on people who were millionaires, who were worth more than $5 or $10 million. And they had something like 154 people in the state that fit this qualification to whack them with a big tax. 4 years later, they still have that tax in place. However, the gross revenue to the state is down. The reason the gross revenue to the state is down is because 90% of the people that fit into that bracket have moved their taxing authority to another state, like Florida, that has no personal tax. And all they have to do is buy a condo in Florida and declare that their permanent residence, and they can move their taxes they can move their taxing responsibility to Florida, and suddenly, instead of paying what they were paying in their other state, they're paying nothing in Florida. Yes?
If they just bought a condo in Florida and say, that could be considered tax fraud, and they're over themselves up even more.
They could.
And in this climate with the state,
I'm using it as an example of management incentives. I don't want to get into the nitpicking on whether that was the right way to do it. I'm saying it happened. I'm saying that a state decided this was the way they were going to fund themselves, and they now have less gross revenue because they don't. Not only don't they have the increased tax, they don't even have what they were getting before, because those people said to themselves, "Why would I do this?" And several of them moved out of state. Several of them may have moved. And at that level, there's a way to make sure that your money is where you want it. Years ago, there are all kinds of business examples of this. But if you tell a business person, if you don't buy health care for your employees, you're going to pay 8%, an 8% tax on the revenue that people are earning. Okay, let me tell you something. The salaries at my company, 8% was less than I paid for health care. So, 8% of my payroll would have been probably a half of what I paid for health care. So, why in God's name would I buy health care? The minute they put that plan in place, as a businessman, unless I've got some other incentive, I've got to stop and look at that and say, hey, this is probably the right decision. I'll go with that plan. So when the government stops and tells you, oh no, people aren't going to do this, this is a business decision. Right. Corporations operate in their own self-interest. But Nestle or Anheuser-Busch isn't going to say we're not going to go with the government plan just because it's a good idea not to. They're going to say which way is going to generate more profit for the shareholders, because that is their corporate mission, is to move money to the bottom line for the shareholders. And sometimes they do certain things, but they're going to do what they're incentivized to do. And when we stop and sit down and say, hey, we're going to try and create an insurance plan, we have to evaluate whether the people are going to migrate to that plan. In our area, in the area that I'm in, which is the 73rd district, which is Clayton, Maplewood, Richmond Heights, the entire cities of those three cities, it's the portion of the city of Brentwood that is east of Brentwood Boulevard and north of Manchester. And it's about 800 voters in the city of Webster Groves. A little sliver at the very corner of Webster Groves. This is an area that has a lot of homeowners. It's got a lot of condos, and older people, but it's got a lot of families. It's got a lot of people that are not happy about the way things are going in the last few months. There's a lot of people in our area that are upset about the Obama plan. They're about the spending, and they're sitting there saying to themselves, "How come I can't do this? This doesn't make sense." And I think that if we can get out and have a conversation with people and say, "Hey, what's a common sense way to do it? Does this make sense?" People are going to stop and evaluate and look at their alternatives. And we believe we're going to go out and have that conversation with people, and that's what I hope to do. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on your specific issues, but
you have any business?
Do I have business cards? I do. I have some literature and stuff, yes. Thank you.